Fabrizio Romano once again tweeted last evening, as he has for a month now, that basically Messi to PSG is pretty much done and dusted. All that's missing is a signature, and that may be the case ultimately. And that's a weird thing about the reporting on this stuff. I only really get in the game when I feel like there's misinformation out there. I like to put it out to clear it up. It's very much a negotiation with Inter Miami. Lionel Messi is very interested in what Inter Miami have to offer. So the notion that he's basically done and dusted, signed off on PSG, then why is he still taking meetings? Why is he still actively engaged in conversations with Inter Miami? You could say, oh, it's just a dog and pony show to drive up the price on PSG. How is Inter Miami driving up the price on PSG? If this were about upfront money, he would have signed it a month ago. It's not about that. Inter Miami have a different opportunity in front of Lionel Messi. If this were all just a charade, then why is he still in active conversations with Inter Miami? He remains interested.
But the reporter reporting this is the most credible, correct?
Yes.
It's not just his biographer. It's a journalist who doesn't usually get it wrong,
right,
correct?
But if I may, I believe his sources to be tied into PSG, and the Qataris never lose these things. So I'm not surprised that there is a supreme confidence coming from PSG. They would have no reason to be unconfident when it comes to these.
They've never lost anybody.
They can't be leveraged. Is that what you're saying? They cannot be leveraged. Is that what you're saying?
They can, but they don't lose. Kylian Mbappe was a done deal to Real Madrid for 2 years.
Right.
And then his contract comes up, and all of a sudden he's staying, and he's got all the power in the organization, and he's making like 100 million euros a year after tax. They always come up with the most money. Right. Because they have the most money.
I saw you had 5 goals. Was that in a game?
Mbappe?
Yeah, in a cup match, albeit against a 6.
That has to be the greatest game in the history of soccer, right? No one's ever scored 5 before.
No, they have.
Really?
Yeah, they've scored more than that. But look, this is going to boil down to my mentions are going to get dragged if Messi goes to PSG, and that's not what I'm reporting. I don't know where he's going to go. It's a 2-club race right now. There was a very reputable reporter that covers Barcelona that said today Lionel Messi, this was yesterday when he said when he reported it, would not be signing his extension with PSG. So thankfully, another reputable reporter has come to my aid. All I'm telling you is this is a 2-club race right now. Inter Miami feel very confident. Talks are going to resume this week. So they're in it. That's all I'm saying. Inter Miami is negotiating with Messi's camp, and they feel like they have a strong proposal, and the indication from Messi's camp remains that he's interested.
My perspective is that when Messi won the World Cup and performed as well as he did, that increased the idea that he's not ready for his retirement home yet, which Inter Miami is, unless you dispute that. In staying cozy with David Beckham, he's just lining up what may happen in 2 or 3 years. I don't think he's ready to give up top-level soccer right now to go to MLS. I think he will eventually.
That's what I run into, people applying logic. Why not keep playing at the top flight? I'd brush up against the notion that playing in the French league, where Kylian Mbappe can rattle off 5 goals in a cup match, is the top flight. Playing in Europe in Champions League, you have a free pass basically when you're playing with PSG, but it's not about that. His legacy is set as a footballer. This is about creating a new legacy, opening up a new market potentially, having a pathway to ownership, and not just owning a club, but the actual sport here in this country. Miami's offer over time, I think, is the stronger offer, and PSG, though people may snicker at this, they are bound by some financial fair play rules. They can't offer exactly what Inter Miami is offering presently. There could be a wink and a smile, and down the line we'll grease you up. It's a negotiation, but right now, through the laws of each individual sporting government here in the United States and over in Europe with UEFA, Inter Miami have a unique proposal that has allowed them to continue these conversations. And Fabrizio, a lot of his reporting, if you see it, has been based on conversations that happened in advance of the World Cup. There were photographs of Inter Miami contingents around Messi's box at the World Cup final. Inter Miami has continued conversations throughout the last month, and I am telling you with 100% certainty, they're going to continue talking this week.
Right.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
They're very much alive in this thing.
I think our only disagreement is that I would be shocked if it happened in the next year or two. I think 2 years from now,
Yeah.
Messi will be in Miami. He loves Miami.
You're applying logic. From what I understand from Inter Miami, this opportunity, this unique opportunity that's presenting itself to Messi right now is only available right now. You can say that's BS. You could say call their bluff, circle back in 2 years. That's fine. I'm not reporting opinion stuff. I'm just telling you with 100% certainty, Inter Miami and Messi's camp continue to negotiate, and it is a high-level advanced negotiation.
So your understanding is that Inter Miami is giving an ultimatum to Lionel Messi?
I'm not couching it
now
like
or
that.
never.
I'm not couching it like that. I am just saying there's no ultimatum. It hasn't been framed that way. This deal, as it's constituted with a pathway to ownership and a chunk of the sport here in this country, is only available right now. And if I were to give credence, just knowing what I know, they recently bought out an owner. This is a family that owns this. They have some minority stakeholders, but you can't have that ambiguity around these shares of this club for 2 years. You can't sit around waiting around for Lionel Messi. So I do think that argument that this opportunity only is available right now, I think that argument does hold water.
You're presenting the facts, and you're doing a great job in the reporting on it, and it's fantastic. I guarantee you and Lionel Messi, it's available to him in 2 years as well. I mean, and in 5 years,
right.
and in 7 years, and in 10 years.
Look, if the Moss family wants to keep these shares open and not do anything with it in a sport that might stretch them financially, maybe you're right. I don't know enough about that specific detail. I would say, why not call their bluff if I'm Messi? Why not do that? This makes all the sense in the world. Why would you entertain playing Real Salt Lake? Don't you want to play in the Champions League final? I'm just telling you, he is very intrigued by the lifestyle that Miami offers, the pathway to ownership that Miami offers, the legacy he can build in this United States because he can unlock this market. If he comes over here to MLS, it's the most impactful U.S. soccer transfer of all time.
Easily. He can conquer America.
You
That's
guys, Greg, Cody, and Stugotz are they're applying logic and cynicism, the obvious logic and cynicism, as casual people who aren't reporting anything. They're just looking and saying it doesn't make sense for him to fall for the bluster of a Cuban Miami gas bag who's trying to make Miami matter right now. But this is a perfectly Miami transaction where it's all this guy tried to buy the baseball team, didn't have the money. Now he's got a golf course that's being turned into a soccer stadium. He needs to make this work now. It's $1 billion bet. He's going after the biggest. It's a giant swing. And Mike is telling you from the perspective of reporting from here that they're confident they kind of need it now.
Yeah.
Not 2 years from now.
But they need it now. The question is, does Messi need it now?
I will tell you,
or want it now?
It may be irrational confidence coming from Inter Miami. And again, all I'm saying is they feel very much alive in this. And the international reporting is that what they have no. This is he's going.
It's not
to
a matter
PSG.
of if, but when. He's extending his contract.
He's going to
Paris
PSG. He's extending it. But you have two entities here. The Qataris, you could argue, have far more reason to feel this way. But the Moss family overcome several blockades. While the stadium has been labeled a tiresome debacle, they feel like that was a massive achievement. We got that thing over the line. We got the team. We got that thing over the line. When the team was about to dissolve and not actually happen, we came and we saved it. So they feel like they don't get many no's. So it's a top level negotiation with two entities that don't hear no very often. And right now, they both feel pretty strongly about that. I'm just bucking against the notion that he is off to PSG. If that's your opinion, fine. You could apply all sorts of logic. I get it. Well, I'm just telling you, he is not faking his interest in these conversations.
As a season ticket holder, I am hoping he comes here. I want to say that out in front. But this sounds like he's using Inter Miami to get more money out of PSG.
But if he were doing that, and I hear you, and here's what I'm going to say. If it were about the money, why not use Saudi Arabia as a more serious stalking horse? They were offering him $300 million. It's not necessarily about that. He doesn't need the money. I think what he is contemplating right now is legacy. If this were about the money up front, short term, Inter Miami cannot compete with PSG. Over time, with equity, with percentage points, with rights fees, this could be a bigger bet for Lionel Messi.
His reported current annual salary is $75 million a year.
Man.
Like, PSG have the money. Like, they do not need to be leveraged against. Yeah. And also,
Miami will not be paying that to Lionel Messi. They cannot compete
in cash.
In equity.
Yeah.
In equity. Yeah. I just think it's perfect for Miami to make the argument. It's not about money. Good, we don't have any. We don't. Moss couldn't afford the baseball team here. A lot of this is constructed on.
Moss made what is in hindsight a pretty good business decision to not overspend for a baseball team. We spent several local hours saying that Sherman made a bad deal there. What I will say is he's not going to make peanuts here. He's going to be handsomely rewarded via salary. In MLS, you can pay a designated player whatever you want. And it doesn't count against the cap.
But even still, the all-time record salary for an MLS player is currently Lorenzo Insigne of Toronto, making $15 million. So a fifth as much as Messi makes right now. Like, right. MLS has always been about financial responsibility. So then they're not going to go insane.
Which is why they have certain ways around it, which is where the ownership comes in. And over time, that may be the smarter play. It's also about lifestyle and balance. There have been reports that he loves it in Paris. I've heard kind of the opposite. That he loves it in Miami, and his family wants to be in Miami. And his best friend from the Barcelona days, Sergio Busquets, I am reporting, is in all likelihood going to be down here in Miami. So there's a lot of additional things for a guy that doesn't necessarily need the $75 million a year. If it were about money, he'd take the $300 million a year from Saudi Arabia.
And if you go back to when David Beckham initially joined Major League Soccer in 2007, he was given the option to buy a team. That was the major carrot in him coming. At the time, the valuation on that team was $25 million, and now MLS teams are valued for as much as $900 million. That investment, that decision, instead of saying, oh, I'll play for Real Madrid or I'll play for whoever, at that time, was handsomely rewarded when he sold a large portion of Inter Miami to the Moss family and made 6, 7, 8x on his initial investment on an option in a contract.
Which was initially a 70% reduction in wages from when he came over from Europe. And it ended up being one of the great deals of all time for David Beckham. And that's kind of what Miami is presenting to Lionel Messi right now.
I do think there's this is cynicism on my part, and I admit it. But there's a little fatigue factor here because I feel like Messi to Miami is a conversation we've been having for 3 years now. Okay? We all think, I think it's an eventuality. I think he will be here in a matter of a couple or 3 years. But that it's going to happen, that it could happen now is something that.
Well, you're buying high. Him winning.
He's the best player in the world right now.
Him
winning
with all the choices.
Him winning the World Cup gives him all of the options.
Yes,
all of the options. He did not have those. I don't even know if he had those if they'd lost on penalty kicks. If they'd lost on penalty kicks.
Here's a fascinating thing about Messi and having all the options. He didn't really seriously pursue Saudi Arabia. Only 2 teams are in the door right now. Not even his old club Barcelona has made an impact in negotiations. He's kept this very close to the vest, and it's a 2-team race right now. So why? Why is he playing with his food? Brian Windhorst fingers, everybody. If he were off to PSG, why is he entertaining this Inter Miami thing? Is it because he wants to play with his food a little bit and circle back to it in 2 years and think that those shares are going to be there? Fine. I'm not here to tell you that.
He doesn't know Cuban gas bags very well if he thinks that what we're offering you today is even available today, never mind 2 years from now.
If you're listening to this and you know with 100% certainty it'll be there available to him in 2 years, good on you. I'm not going to push back against that. I'm not telling you that. I'm just telling you what the reality is of these negotiations.